I'm tracking a cloudy and cool Wednesday, a warmer weekend, and picture-perfect weather here for the Central Coast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mackenzie Lake. We're going to talk a little bit about our next couple of days, and then I want to talk about our national weather as lots of things are changing for our East Coast friends. So today it's a little cool, it's a little cloudy, but we'll warm up to 70 here in Santa Barbara. And as we track into our weekend, well, I've been talking about our high-pressure system, and it's hard at work. Here's a look at where it is today. We'll likely see some mid to high level clouds due in part to all this activity off our coastline, but this system, it's shielding us from any sort of wet weather. We'll have a lot of big storm cells developing and making their way up into the Pacific Northwest, but most of California staying clear, warming up, and staying nice and dry throughout at least the extended. Maybe you want some good beach days. I think Friday and Saturday are two perfect afternoons. We'll be tracking this nice offshore flow here. That means minimal cloud coverage and warm weather. Well, our friends over on the East Coast really can't catch a break. We are tracking a couple different things. So if you're tuned into national weather, you're likely going to hear some buzzwords going around the next few days: polar vortex, bomb cyclone, bombogenesis, and nor'easter. I want to break these down, and we'll talk about the impacts in just a minute. So let's start with our polar vortex. This is something that always exists very far up into our northern poles. As we head through the winter months, it does dip down a little bit. Sometimes it's disrupted, and that's when we get these really cool Arctic blasts like we saw last week. So this is exactly how our pattern is looking over the next few days. We're going to have that cool air up to the north, but what's interesting about this weather pattern is that low pressure is going to swing down over Florida, and that's going to draw in warm, moist air from the Gulf Coast and from a lot of these areas highlighted in orange. That warmer air associated and colliding with this cool Arctic air creates for some big storms and some big problems for a lot of our friends over on the East Coast. Let's walk it through here with my future track. So today, not a whole lot of activity, but this is the low pressure system, or nor'easter, that we're tracking. We're going to watch this intensify as it crosses over Florida. It's going to draw in some of that warm, moist air, and then you'll notice as we head through Saturday, that's when it collides with the cool air, bringing in some very heavy and very wet snowfall for the Carolinas and Virginia. Take a look at all the activity going on over the coastal waters. Well, what's interesting, this storm cell is probably going to retrograde a lot of that activity back up into the very far northeastern portions of the coastline. So this system might delay more flights. We have a lot of people still without power, and that cool Arctic air just does not want to give up. So if you're planning on traveling this weekend anywhere out to the East Coast, or maybe you have friends out there, check in on them, check in on flights. It's going to be a messy one depending on what that low pressure system does over the next 24 hours. Speaking of high pressure, low pressure, well, let's take a look at our temperatures. At the surface, I'm tracking 70s. Overcast skies, but nonetheless, it's going to be a beautiful afternoon if you want to head out. A slight cooling trend for some of our interior areas, hitting 70 on the dot in Nipomo, and no watches, warnings, or advisories. So head out and enjoy our warm weekend while the rest of the U.S. has to deal with all the cold.